Hi, good morning. You got your coffee and everything. We're tuned in to the Saturday morning show. Ah, Nothing like coffee in the morning, and you're tuned in right here to the Saturday morning show. All right, we're gonna go ahead and read some comments, and I started. One of our assistants of the show actually was starting to look at some stuff, and he said we had to add. Normally, we go through the list and we say, if we didn't read your comment, it may be because we didn't, it didn't exist yet until we started doing production on the show. Or, of course, it's just it's not something we could read here on the family-friendly show. And if we had to add something to it, if your comment just doesn't make sense, because I don't know if maybe it's because when people are typing it out, I know a lot of people are using their cell phones these days to watch a lot of the content. Maybe it's the autocorrect or something that's going in there where the comment has got words like where words don't belong. I don't know. So there's just no way for us to make sense of it. So anyway, all right, here we go. We're gonna read some comments here. First one up in no particular order. Here we got Lion Quest Fitness over there. I had for some reason had been unsubscribed to his channel. I had to resubscribe. I don't know if that's happening to anybody else, but it sure seems like sometimes that does happen. But all right, here he says, 3 sounds that send chills down my spine: a revolver clearing a leather holster, the cocking of an old school Smith & Wesson revolver, and hearing a 1911 put a round into battery after hitting a slide release. Yeah, I definitely I love that when you put that slide release down and it goes forward, especially when you got a good quality. Everything mashes together. There's something interesting about that. All right, Big Al. It's always a great way to start a Saturday, watching your show, and you give me a new appreciation for old leather holsters. I collected mine over the years, and now they are all freshly cleaned and treated. Oh, that's awesome. Also, Pop Goes the Weasel, which is the Scottish American's other channel, where he's been doing kind of a little take on our lost, the friend that we had lost, Mr. Holster. He's been doing some stuff over there. He did a leather episode that he was showing some leather stuff that he uses. So everybody's got different stuff that they use, which is great, and we all can share and find out what works best for somebody. And of course, wherever they may be, climate-wise or whatnot. I happen to live in somewhere where it's really dry, so it's kind of benefits to keep the leather a little bit more on the wet side, just to help it. At least that's what I found for myself. All right. Danger Man, I agree with you about the new experts at the gun shops. A guy in his mid-20s, tattooed, and a high-capacity polymer on his hip. Modern tactical all the way, don't waste my time. Like you, I look for the older guys when I'm buying a 1974 Python. One of the guys behind the counter asked permission. You have to respect someone like that to look at the revolver while I was doing the paperwork. I enjoyed watching him. As you could see, his appreciation for the craftsmanship and true kindred spirit. I've experienced exactly what you're talking about right there, and that is one of the things, because I do shop. A lot of the places I go, you wouldn't find modern guns. You just wouldn't find them. You don't go there to buy those things. You go there specifically, and I'm really grateful that most of the time it is all the older people that are there, and it's kind of neat because they treat me pretty well, because seeing a younger guy come in there and actually show interest in stuff like single actions, double action revolvers, and all those type things, lever guns and whatnot, black powder, cap and ball, all that. So it's really cool. But I do know what you're talking about, and it's that's it. That's where that's all my attention, and I kind of have this thing where if it's not something I'm interested in, I really don't give a rip. It's just something that I'm just gonna toss on the side. I don't really care to know anything about it, but it sure does seem like that the gun world or whatnot, if you call it, has taken such a different turn. And I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to speak ill about it, but it does seem to be more of that. It's more common. You see this, these guys got to have a high capacity something rather. The only thing they know about is anything modern and great and all that they consider, this polymer wonder world or whatnot. Nothing wrong with them. They serve their purpose. They do work. They're reliable. But they just don't, for me, they just don't have the soul that some of the older guns do. And I mean, like some of the older vintage ones, I mean, you cannot tell me that something, that was built maybe in the last couple of years has the same soul, even though it might be the same make and model, as something like a true Colt Series 70 or something like that, that it just has the age, it has the time and history. It's a time capsule in your hand. And I really enjoy something like that. Speaking of him, Scottish American, you know what? He pronounces the name of this stuff, and I can't. So, open offs, there you go. You can laugh at me. Is some of the best as far as leather oil conditioners go. I'm a big fan of theirs from the go. Been big fan of theirs from the get-go, both for the cowboy boots and leather and holsters. Some fine example of leather holsters, really nice custom ones. One from the New Mexico that lasts again, it's just probably it's the corrections of the thing. This is what we were talking about. Sorry, Scotsman. I can't understand what's but yeah, I mean, the leather holster I got from New Mexico, Pistols and Prayers, she does really good work. You can see how thick the leather is and how well tooled it is. As somebody like myself that's really an amateur leather worker and I've dabbled around with it and I understand the basic concepts of it, I can really appreciate the work that she did, because it's just, and I believe her name is Kendra. All right, Ron L. I've been shooting and owning 1911 since I was 20, and I am 73 now, and I will own them until I die. Nothing wrong with that. They just feel right, and they hit dead center every time. It's great to see and then hear others talk about them too. Then I love revolvers. I have single actions as well as Smith & Wesson 357s. You can't go wrong with them. And he got a couple replies here. Angry Ranger replied, same here, another 1950 model American. My great uncle taught me a lot starting in 1958 with a 1884 Colt single action in 45 Colts. No plastic guns here, just a 1911 A1 single action revolvers and Smith & Wesson and old Colt double action revolvers. We old guys know that what's right. All right, and then Ron replied to him, yes sir, new plastic ones really lack the lines and character of the old tried and true ones from yesteryear. They worked the first time, every time, still do. And they still do too. My grown kids have their Glocks and sort, but they always handle mine with respect. When I can see that desire to own them, I can see the desire to own them. Yeah, that's it. I mean, even from when I started buying stuff, that's all I ever bought was old stuff like that. Excuse me. This morning, I got up to do the show and everything, and I tell you, I never had allergies back on the island. But out here, I tell you, man, especially during this time around, spring and everything, just really crazy. I've been coughing, sneezing all morning. All right, Stephen K., great radio show. JW, for my 1911s, the holster has to be leather. I have one handmade holster inside the waistband holster that I carry all my 1911s in. I use a Skidmore leather. I use Skidmore leather cream to keep it conditioned and have for years. Stay well, my friend. All right. Yeah, and again, American Scotsman's got some stuff that he was using in his video, and actually looked really. I like the way that he actually shows applying it, and then what it did for the leather. It looked really good, really nice. So, all right, Slim Fire 54. I look forward to the radio show, JW. It's always good to see. It's always good show and tell. I have been a subscriber to I Carry One for a long time, and that's a great channel too. I saw you two on one of his videos and started watching your awesome channel. You have some very nice holsters too, and I have a few hunters for my handguns. Hunter Leather Company. Yeah, there you go. As somebody that lived in Colorado, and I love Colorado, I miss it every day. That's a great company. They're located out of Westminster out there, and they do make some nice ones. Thanks, Slim. All right, Joe P. Hey, Joe. Swig of coffee for Joe. I think I missed you last week. I don't know if I saw your comment or not. I never purchased a shoulder rig for my 29 as it is from the classic line. Hey, Joe, there's nothing wrong with that. I actually want one of those. I really do. Just because it's modern technology and take on that thing, and I want to see how it holds up. Everybody else says they hold up great. I had a 629 from that, but again, one thing I like about that is they're still offering them. With the people are bothered by things like key locks and frame-mounted firing pins, all that kind of stuff. I really don't. It doesn't bother me. It just never really has. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird. It just doesn't seem worth it. Even though I have vintage end frame grips on it, but I have to admit that every time you bring yours out on the show, I go immediately to the web and start pricing them again. Joe, if I have another one, but it's left-handed, but I don't know because I don't think you're left-handed, are you? All right. An Angry Ranger. I'm with you on leather gear. I tried a couple Kydex holsters, but they weren't right for me. It's leather all the way. All right, and Ghost Riders there, Santee, awesome show, BATJAC. Didn't know about the leather oil. Good tip. Yeah, it is good stuff. I know he does a lot with leather and stuff like that. So, all right, Russ Elder. Hey, Russ. Hope you're in good health, my friend. Very cool holsters. Like what you made. Have a great weekend. Thank you. And I know a lot of you. Maybe not a lot of you have commented all the time, but I do recognize and I do know that a lot of you have been a subscriber for many years here on the channel, as we have been going for a number of years. So I do appreciate that. And yes, and July is coming up, and that's another mile marker. And it's always easy for me to remember the mile marker of the video content that we've been doing, because we posted our very first video on July 4th. And that was in 2014. I want to say it was 2014. So that's how long we've been going. And July 4th always marks the next calendar year here that we've been doing this. So it's amazing. Jeffrey Richardson, great show, and thank you for tuning in and listening. Jerry Johnson, the second. If I had a time machine, I would go back and see John M. Browning before he came up with the 1911 and chat with him. My favorite revolver holsters are Hunter 2. Yes, I do like their stuff. I don't mind buying their stuff. I have a lot of their rifle slings. Awesome. And Trees of Blowing, double thumbs up from Trees of Blowing. He's another great channel. I like Trees of Blowing because you just never know what you're going to get from him. All right, PB Steel Head Finish Gunner. I'm just going to read this out the way it is. Reading now, just met him at the NRA show, and I'm going to think you're referring to Hackathorn. So that's cool. You obviously, it sounds like you went to a show and met some of the cool guys out there. That's awesome stuff. All right, here we go. You know what? So this time around, I actually reminded myself before I close this down, what we're going to do here, and I thought we'd do something a little bit different, is do a little throwback and kind of a look back at some of the older stuff that we've done. And we're going to pick just some random video that I can maybe shed some behind the scenes on it for you. And the video that we're going to do, because I thought it might be more interesting, is the Walther PPKS 22. You guys have been following for a long time. You know which one that is. That's that little Walther PPK in 22 that I got years and years and years ago. I still have it. That's because if I ever sold it, they wouldn't give me nothing but, they wouldn't even give me anything worth it for me to sell it. So I've always kept it. This video was published out eight years ago. It was done on my friend's property, Ron. Ron had passed away, unfortunately. Ron was a dear friend of mine. He was his property and everything that he was he was so kind enough to share his property and basically his compound with me to go up there. And I've been going up there and doing that stuff long before YouTube. It was just YouTube just happened to kind of happen, and we did stuff out there just for fun. Back in the early days up there, a friend of mine, she helped me film the very first video up there. She did an excellent job of doing it because she understood what needed to be filmed and done. So it was, she was just excellent. Carly was her name, and she just did a wonderful job up there. So there was just a group of friends up there, and we were always doing stuff up there, and that's what spawned it. We just started filming stuff and doing stuff like that. The very early stuff was kind of like, we call it a parody, but it was more like a hat tip to people like Hickok 45, because kind of got me like, watching his videos in the early days. And then he, what mostly he did for me was shed light on certain firearms that I didn't know they actually did. And one of those was the reproduction of the Colt World War I pistol. That's great, so that, there was something really cool about that. That I just had to have, and that started the obsession with it, And I mean, yeah, again, having the reprop, it's still a repop of something, but when it's done right, when it's done the traditional way, or it looks like it, and I know I kind of spoke about that, where it just, may not have the soul, but it still embodies the classic, the thing of yesteryear. Even though it's modern made or whatnot. So, it's made with modern tech, but it's when they start deviating from that and they start adding in, like, okay, you have the recipe for the perfect roasted chicken, but then you start going, well, you know what, this is, yeah, we know that that Colonel Sanders or whoever made this, or, fried chicken or whatever, made this recipe, but let's start adding in all this other stuff just for the hell of it. That's when I start going, you know what, I don't like when they deviate from the original design. If you're going to do it right. A little bit of difference is fine. Like my Walther PPK that I just recently got some months back, the 380, the newer one out there. They extended that frame where to not allow the hammer bite or slide bite, which is fine with me. That actually doesn't bother me so much. I can do with that. But if they were to do stuff like cut it out for red dot or something like that, I just don't. I won't do it. It's just not my cup of tea or cup of coffee in this aspect. So, all right. But anyway, yeah, this. See, we get off topic. But anyhow, this video here that we were shooting the 22 Walther out there, I remember this, and what the whole point of the video was, because I was struggling a lot during the time where I was trying to understand. I got to remember, like, a lot of these videos are shot almost 10 years ago. Everybody learns, everybody grows, everybody has, discovered things. So I was trying to figure out what was going on with the cycling problem. I noticed that that gun will not cycle certain types of 22 ammo, and it almost didn't even seem like it was rather dependent on quality or not, which I think what has come down to it, it really needs the oomph to make it work. So that one here, I was testing out stuff, and I believe it was like Remington Viper, Remington Golden Bullet. Those seem to work the best in it. But if you're running like the standard Federal, used to be, what is it, the 555 box that used to be able to get for like 16 bucks. That stuff didn't seem to work really well. Or the Winchester Danapoint didn't seem to work very well. But those, or the CCI, like he points out, like somebody's pointing out here, the Stingers or the mini mags, that works really good. So, but you know what? Looking back at that video when we did that, Hawaii's weather is so all over the place sometimes. And a lot of times it's raining. You really can't get anywhere and do things outside, everything like that. We've talked about the Kimber 1911 video that we did out there one time. But, you know, that tripod and everything was set up. And, I mean, the bottom, I think if I remember right, there's a tarp on the bottom that we were catching brass and stuff like that, because I think that wasn't the only thing we were filming that day. But, I mean, that video was terrible. I mean, just the wind noise, everything, but it was just, all it was trying to do was show the function of the pistol. It was really one of my favorite guns, and I was, at the time we were doing this, I would always focus on videos that didn't seem to get a lot of light or attention, or a subject or a situation that was, and that one had to be involving the 22 and function and making it work. If you get like a Mark 1, Mark 2 Ruger, they seem to gobble up anything. When it starts getting into the Mark 3, it seemed to be hit and miss for me, because I had a Mark 3. Had a Mark 3 2245 years ago, and there's actually probably still some videos on there, but I since let it go. The only thing I don't like about the Mark 3 2245s or any of the other ones is the polymer lower. I just can't get, I don't like it. I like and plus the attraction for me with the Mark 2, the standard one with the little short barrel and everything, or the what is it, the forward barrel. The movie Assassins with Sylvester Stallone and Antonio Banderas, and you know, it's directed by Richard Donner, which you know, passed away, unfortunately. So, but anyway, that's like my romance with it. But those guns right there, they gobble up almost anything. And of course, like a Colt Woodsman, if you got a correct one that can actually handle the high velocity ammo, that, you know, they are pretty reliable. They work, you know, ultimately really well. So anyway, but I remember the conditions of filming that video. It was just terrible. I almost didn't put the video out. But back when we were doing this stuff, it was just, we did all kinds of crazy stuff. We were filming all kinds of things. It was just the early days of the channel, and there wasn't a whole lot we couldn't do. So, and we just had a ball doing it. But that was the first video, you know, it really started getting a huge amount of traction and views. Of course, it fell short now. It stopped around 584,000 views, which is absolutely insane for me to think about that. But then we have other videos that have done million plus, which is crazy, crazy. Just thinking like how all that happened. But that was the first video that really led the channel. I really do. It really started. That was the one video that was in the lead on the views for a long time. Before it was you know, surpassed by the other ones. But that video, I remember that was a very terrible day for filming. The wind noise was awful. I think in one point the tripod almost blew down or something like that. I think you guys see me reach over and hold on to it and fix it or whatnot. So that video just, you know, there were some of the videos we did in the early days that were terrible. We were like, why did we upload that? But we were having so much fun. My buddies and I and everybody that was together when I started the YouTube thing, we were having a ball. I mean, and don't get me wrong, we still do. things have changed. Of course, I moved away from there, so I don't have all my friends around me that were involved in the early days. But I still get a kick out of it. The show here that we do, as long as we got you guys watching and you enjoy it and comment and everything like that, we're going to definitely continue the show. But it was definitely a wild time. We didn't know much anything about filming or lighting or anything like that. We just let the camera roll and go for it. And that's one thing that I kind of always had the direction with the channel. I didn't want nothing wrong with it. It's not a bash or throwing rocks at somebody else that does it. Although I do would like to do some of it. But I kind of wanted to keep a lot of my videos pretty raw. I wanted it to be just kind of as organic as it could be. Just not so polished up in some senses, but still decent quality for you to be able to watch and listen. But not so polished up. So that was a lot of the early stuff. You see that it was really just total guerrilla style documentary type. Blair Witch times worse kind of deal. So anyway, that's a little thing. If you enjoyed kind of a look back and an insight on the video, let me know. If there is a video that you would maybe like for me to kind of shed some background lighting on it, talk about it a little bit, and share with you a little bit of experience that if I can remember it, let me know in the comments. Also, over time, things that I maybe have mentioned early on were kind of kept secret in a sense. We didn't divulge everything or certain things, or maybe we explained it differently in the beginning stages. So now I'm just trying to remember some of the stuff that happened, and not necessarily, because in the end, it's still there was people involved and things that were involved in the channel that needed to be kept private for other people's sake. They didn't exactly want to be in the limelight. That's the reason for some of that. But I can shed some stuff with you and some of the insights. So, but yeah, there's an older video or something like that you may have some questions on or want. Let me know in the comments, or if there's a video that you want me to share some background or behind the scenes with you, and do so in the comments, and I will share it with you on the channel. So anyway, go out, enjoy the rest of your Saturday and the weekend.